Hello. I know my AC is on in the back, so just bear with me here. I'm gonna do a quick little intro. I'm also gonna slow down a little bit because the topic of this video is potentially anxiety inducing for everyone involved. So before we get into the actual content of this video, I am going to ask for your participation in a mindfulness exercise, if that's okay with you. I'm not going to use the DBT format necessarily, although if you want to support Marshall Linehan, please use your DBT skills. But I am just going to ask that we sit here and ask ourselves, how do we feel right now? Are we able to clear our minds? And are we ready to proceed with something that's potentially difficult right now? And if we are, then let's proceed. And if we're not, let's pause this and come back to it when we feel better. And if you want to proceed anyway, if you feel bad and you want to proceed anyway, just understand that I know what that feels like. And I've chosen not to live my life like that. So anyway, today I'm going to have to talk about, because I have to start keeping track of this stuff. I can't live in cooperation with others without keeping track of stuff like this because it's too complex and there's too much at risk. It's too dangerous. Today I'm going to discuss Randy Dollar, and I'm going to try to do so without crossing certain boundaries. Once again, I am going to keep this informative. I kind of iterated that in different wording previously, but that's what I'm trying to get at. I might have to get the fisheye. Some water will do. But on the other hand, I have to explain to you that a lot of people have been really crossing some really insane thresholds on my boundaries. And I have also been chronically labeled as like a pariah, basically. Yeah, so like people often just don't really like they don't really take me seriously very often because of what I've been through. But the thing is that I doubt that anyone really actually understands what my life has really been like. People see it from different angles, and I know sometimes it's easy to get a read on people, but sometimes people get it wrong, and then people like me have to sit there and suffer because there is just no way that I can't feel deep pain as a result of being marginalized in such a manner. Especially by people who, to me, seem not only hypocritical, but on a scale that it would be comical if it wasn't so sad. So, what I want to discuss is that I've been chronically abused by the police, and yes, I'm calling that openly. I'm calling it that openly because I actually support the police, but I also support freedom and humanity. So I don't support what most of the policing industry is doing right now. I just don't. But the basic foundation, that's basically actually all I have is as an American citizen. Like, even though I've been labeled by the state system, 2 state systems, as being a criminal, that's bullshit. Yeah, there's elements of criminality involved in my case files, but you're not taking everything into consideration, and you're being completely unfair because you're corrupt as hell and acting like you don't do the same shit on a daily basis with less actual authority and skill than I have. You just have your name on a piece of paper in a place where people can see it with a fucking shiny ass piece of metal and a little death machine on your hip. Well, guess what? You're not that special. You're special, but you're not that special. Now let's talk about that. People with shiny pieces of metal and death machines on their hip. And then let's talk about people like me with criminal charges and tons of documented disability severity mental health issues, psychiatric hospitalizations, tons of psychiatric medication usage, and a track record of being prolifically successful prior to a head injury received through a sporting event, and a track record of still being prolifically successful after that, but then with increasing elements of criminality. So sometimes it's important to go back to the source of these issues and re-examine them. Just like an operator, you go back to the beginning of the venue. Go back to the inception of the venue and right now we're about to talk about Randy Dollar because I met her through Tinder and we had sex. And I put it down. Thank you. That's me. I did that. Now that we've gotten past the pride part, let's go to the prejudice. She didn't inform me before we met up in person that she lived with her ex, although she did say when I asked her that they had had a conversation and that he was aware that she was independent sexually. But I never got any confirmation from him. And then she told me that when I was explaining my situation and how I had been locked up because of Sonia, and I was explaining how it was a research situation that turned sexual, that turned violent, and I explained the context, I believe. Perhaps. We were in this house talking, also downstairs near the fire, and I had made tapas and brought out some beverages. It was actually quite a nice evening, barring the anxiety. But she told me that because of my felony, that she couldn't be in a relationship with me because she worked in the army. She made it sound like she was a secretary or something. But didn't explain past that, even though I explained that how my work was involved with the army. I may have even explained, I don't know if I explained that my grandfather was a World War II veteran and that my great-grandfather was a World War I veteran. I don't remember if I explained that or not. But, long story short, in the other house, my parents' house, in my main bedroom, I guess fornication's illegal in Virginia, but considering everything that Virginia's done to me, if they want to try to prosecute me for fornication, I think I'm probably liable to overreact at some point. So I would hope that people wouldn't do that, especially because what I found out is I got locked up in Maryland, and I was held in Maryland without a trial for 7 months, and I received a life-threatening injury that required a bone graft surgery, which I never received compensation for. And then my interstate was never filed properly as I was let out on pretrial under false pretenses. You didn't have to use false pretenses. You could have just used the facts. That should have been sufficient. But then what I figured is, considering that alcohol was consumed during the evening by her, and yes, I did consume a small amount of alcohol as well. I say small amount considering how much I used to drink. It's not a concern, and I didn't continue. Well, actually, there was we'll get to that later as to why it's a really big issue. But this is what I was saying about not crossing boundaries. Okay, there was an issue for a second after that I want to get to later because it involves my Corolla. But we have to move forward. By the way, after that, I just said we went to Yichon the next morning. Was it, or what did we do? No, we were at Yichon the night before, I guess, or something. I can't, whatever. And she told me she was gonna go to Korea, I guess. I can't remember when she told me that. And then apparently she went to Korea. I was like, okay, bye, have fun. You know, innocent me thinking everything's normal, right? She's a Maryland State Police officer. She specialized in sexual assault and serial killing. And she has active shooter accreditation, more than one. And she's with the Army. And by the way, she also has affiliation with Georgetown, apparently, which is where I aced my summer law class. And then I got fucking caught up by someone who gave me drugs who was associated with the college, and I was a minor. And they blamed me, and they give me a 0. You equated my behavior as a minor around authoritative adults with my academic progress. And you've done so ever since then. Pardon me for the vitriol. This is not about vitriol. I just happen to be in a lot of pain, and it happens to have taken a really long time for me to recover enough to start speaking about this in any sort of manner that I feel like anyone should reasonably take seriously, if I'm being honest with you. I know that I've been treated like a joke, and I see why, but you have to understand that underneath is a person who is watching and waiting a lot like Christ. A lot like Christ. There's a lot of other aspects to my personality as well, and we'll get to those now. Just think of it as like watching a Foundry run on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Active DoD secret clearance, return ship. Soul. I'm gonna move my camera over here for a second, or whatever. What's that? Okay. Oh, also, if you do want to take this seriously, start here. I did that tattoo myself. Shinson Hanmong. If I'm not mistaken. I did have to use a translator because, unfortunately, my Korean was stunted. Here, this is how it was stunted, by this sort of environment. It was also activated by this sort of environment, so it's in my brain somewhere, but please don't test me on it. Anyway, so you'll see why I'm taking a more active, issue with this. So hold on, let's boot up real quick and explain something to you about my background as well. So I trained with Jun Ri when I was a child. And I have an unorthodox pathway. But there are some things that you should be aware of that make this sort of situation very interesting.
one with the sky, and I'm so far away, so close to home, 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 so far away, so close to now I'm found, and you can see me shining brightly like I'm supposed to. And something inside, taking my pride, wants me to know that there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And I feel like I'm one with the sun, one with the sky, and I'm so far away, so close to home, so far away, so close to home, so far away, so close to 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 nowhere to nowhere to and I feel like I'm one with the sun, one with the sun, wants me to know that there's nowhere to nowhere to and I feel like I'm one with the sun, one with the sun, so far away.
Okay, so anyway, yeah. This matters to me. Oh yeah, by the way, my grandfather, Clark, he was a competition shooter also. He flew the hump in World War II, and he was a programmer for the NASA moon landing. All of that with a chemical engineering and mechanical engineering background, and a patent law background. And go ahead and look at the World War I vets that came before him. I'm not bragging, I'm just speaking clearly. Frankly, I'm not sure what there is to brag about multi-generational post-traumatic stress disorder with racial dysphoria due to the fact that my background doesn't seem to have terribly many abusers in it. Until you start trying to call everyone an abuser and everyone who doesn't defend themselves with violence wins, and anyone who just uses violence as a last resort gets kidnapped and tortured. Anyone who doesn't want to kill as a first resort gets kidnapped and tortured. And has a propaganda agent disseminated against them. By the state, apparently. By the way, I've been on probation ever since 2021, I think? With Maryland, I mean. I'm still on probation with Maryland. So if I've been on probation, if I was on probation with Maryland, or was it pretrial? Either way, I was in custody of the state of Maryland while located in Virginia, but they failed to file the interstate before I was transferred to Virginia. So the more you look into this, it seems like they found a way to rape people and say that it's legal. Because I met her on Tinder because I was becoming further unstable after getting out of the National Capital Program, after my incarceration in Jessup or wherever, however you want to describe it, in Howard, which I don't even think that place exists anymore, does it? That's where they broke my wrist. As a piano player, that's very disconcerting. And it was not a simple break. Yes, it was. Anyway. Bone graft. Why'd they have to do a bone graft then? Because you're stupid and you used your hand while blah blah blah. Let's not go into it right now, okay? I'm clearly well versed in the bullshit. Bring it back down to normal. Because I got locked up over an assault charge against a woman who was threatening to kill me, and not in a normal way, mind you. I encourage you to do your own research on Ceresis, CAIMEO, Vault 7, Cicada 3301, and which apparently is just the KGB, which apparently Sonia is related to someone in the whatever the KGB is now, which is probably still the KGB, because her father was in the Russian Air Corps, whereas my grandfather was in the American Air Corps, Army Air Corps. And Sonia told me that her mother made her father commit suicide. So right there, I have reason to fear for my life. Not to mention, Sonia failed to tell me, after Robert Paulson introduced me to her under the guise of AI research for Ceresis, I spent the night, and then the next morning, we engaged in me and Sonia only, or maybe it was later than the morning by then, because Robert Paulson had already left. She failed to inform me. First of all, I asked her directly if she was using drugs, and she said no, because we had some alcohol the night before. And she was shaking like this, and I'm like, that's not what that amount of alcohol does to someone. And she also tripped and fell flat. She put clogs on and tripped and fell flat on her face the night before. I was like, that's not normal. Are you using drugs? And she's like, no. And I'm like, you're not lying to me, are you? And she's like, no. Later, I found out she was using cocaine, and I got caught up in a fucking some cocaine bullshit, and I got addicted to it without my permission. And, on top of that, she failed to inform me that she already had a husband. And she claimed she was in the process of getting divorced with him, but because it was COVID time, or whatever the excuse is, may not have been a total excuse. If it was actually in the process of getting put through, a lot of things did get stopped on that end. But overall, it seems to be an excuse because half of it just seemed to be people taking advantage of COVID. Anyway, so By the way, I would like to point out that I did see the Pentagon with a big ass hole in it the day after 9/11, I believe, which is 9/11 is the day after my parents' anniversary because I live right near the Pentagon. So when we talk about counterterrorism, and the Sirius research project was supposedly DARPA and Delta Force. Now let's talk about this. Because she relocated to Korea right after we had sex, according to her. So I guess that's when we had sex. I haven't had sex with anyone since then. That I know of, unless I was raped again, but more severely. However, after this, I believe it was December. I believe a package of mine was held for many months, so it's probably already being held by this time. We can check the criminal complaint, probably. I think you might have to check the affidavit on the criminal complaint. I have a copy of it. But this is just the beginning. I'm just starting to explain this one particular issue. Because I got SWAT raided in December oh no, never mind, hold on. 2024? Never mind. I didn't get SWAT raided. They were holding the package at this time, in 2022. Okay, I got SWAT raided in 2024, I guess. Right? So, they were holding the package earlier that year, so that was not before that. But I did get SWAT raided in 2024. And the reason was because I ordered MHRB on the clear web. I'll just show you. It was on the clear web real quick. And I had multiple packages cleared from this through customs. And I was extracting my own DMT because I have addiction problems and because Emma Samuels targeted me right after I got out of National Capital. Put me in an and she had associations with Secret Service. She lived with a Secret Service agent as one of her guardians. And she forced me to relapse by putting me in an extremely compromising situation, first sexually, and then and then chemically, and then physically by involving gangs and whatnot, and by lying. And by giving me drugs that I wasn't supposed to take after she had already socially compromised me, where she could basically just accuse me of raping her, and I would definitely get arrested and go to prison for the rest of my life as long as she did it in a specific way. And I informed her of this very early on, and then very early on she started using it against me, and then denying that she was using it against me, which is very frustrating. And one of the things that we did together was mushrooms in front of the White House. What do you know, in a decriminalized area? And it kind of went from there. And then I had to stop using the mushrooms because they started making me depressed. Probably because Emma wasn't around anymore. Because she was cheating on me. Just like Gabrielle Vinette, who gave me an STD and compromised my education and my career and put me at risk during COVID of being taken advantage of by Ksenia Krugliakova, who had contacts in the Virginia police. And so when I explained the situation I was in to her when we met for research purposes up in Maryland near the NSA headquarters, anyway, you can probably extrapolate from there. Let's move to the next thing about Randy Dollar. This is what she explained to me. Emergency Actions Controller. Huh. I wonder what that means. I don't know. Maybe, managing SWAT teams that do stuff like this? let's see how fast they're doing this and if this is what it looks like. Or if if you know what this is already, you can basically just you can just extrapolate. They had an MRAP. If you know what an MRAP is, you know how insane that is. For what? For what? A bag of MHRB? Really? This big? That you cleared to me previously multiple times until Trump got elected, right? Well, actually it was halted prior to Trump's election, right? And then after Trump's election, prior to his inauguration, I got raided with the package. Because I took a break from ordering them for a while, because I decided I had sufficiently recovered to not have to use it anymore. And then I didn't have to take any medications, basically, like maybe Tylenol and Zyrtec here and there, for like, I don't know, it feels like it was for like a year. I was doing really well, and I met Sean Lang. Let's talk about him real quick, because he was a Maryland guy. He was also an Army guy. And he got murdered after we became friends. I'm trying to keep track of all this and then not use it against people. I am upset, but I'm trying not to use it against people. I'm trying to just explain what's going on because people keep getting it wrong. And they keep getting it so wrong that it's basically unbearable, and then I have to meditate, and then I have to figure out how to relatively calmly explain it, mainly because my brain will just shut down if I get too angry about it. Oh, hold on, I left one of my plants outside. I'll be right back. Or I left a pot of plants outside, rather. Say hello to my hemp plant. It's just a regular hemp plant, so it's like as non-illegal as it gets. Sometimes when I order hemp from Tweedle Farms, there's seeds in the flower. And this one is finally growing. So shouts out to you guys. I'm definitely not trying to compete with you. I just wanted to have one of my own. And it started raining outside, and I don't know how much it's going to rain, and I feed this thing well water mostly. I don't mind it getting some rain, but I don't want it to get flooded with DC area rain. I want you all to be aware of something as well, that pretty much any quote-unquote normal person who tried to talk about this stuff in the situation that I'm in would almost certainly be killed instantly. But the reason that I'm able to do this is because how do I put it? The circumstances are stacked just so as such that the things that I keep getting in trouble for are not really the things that if I were supposed to be getting in trouble that I should be getting in trouble for. And so not only that, but it's not like they're cutting me a break. They're just incompetent, and then they try to act like they're cutting me a break. And they don't understand that. They have no idea where I'm coming from, and if they do, they're just ignoring it because they're selfish. So moving forward, bringing it back down to Earth, let's get back to what we're talking about. Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to accumulate like things in a way that I can explain them better. Starting one of these, but that's just the LinkedIn page. Anyway, so this is Sean Lang. Let me just double check. You can't see anything. Hold up. Genibus Crimes. Okay, so this is Sean Lang right here. And this is me. And this is Devin. Very shortly after this picture was taken, Sean texted the group. We all practiced the martial arts that I showed a video of earlier in this video. And Sean worked for the Pentagon as a chef, which I didn't know that until later. I just saw him with one of those Call of Duty backpacks, and I was like, oh, we're gonna be friends. It wasn't a Call of Duty branded backpack. It's like, you know, it's a rucksack, but like a one that you can, you know, take around with you in public, not just on the battlefield or something. That coffee was too hot. Too hot. Anyway, so Sean was like, okay, so we talked about playing Call of Duty. So let me see if I can find that. I think that's this. Yeah, we exchanged numbers, talked about playing Call of Duty. He explained he was pretty good. I'm like, I'm pretty good too. By meeting, I meant therapy meeting. I'm not employed. We did end up getting to play. He said he's out of town. When's get back, we should definitely get some DMZ. We did. I don't think we ended up playing DMZ together. I think we just played, like, Warzone. I can't remember if we played DMZ or not. Look, 343 is on the clock. What the fuck? That's a sign. So I guess we will play some DMZ. Because, the next Modern Warfare is going to be in Korea. And they're going to have a full DMZ mode, not just a beta. Which makes sense because the North and South Korean DMZ is like an actual... It's like the most famous DMZ that I know of, at least. So basically, me and Sean... Just like, it felt like we just fucking steamrolled everyone. From head to toe. From Rust to whatever that Navy ship, cargo ship map is. That I then revisited on Halloween. After Sean's passing. So after Sean got killed, like Call of Duty, because the last thing we talked about in person was Omni movement for the next Black Ops, which was Black Ops 6, and how he thought, and trigger warning, if you're watching this video, be aware that I'm about to use the N-word. I'm aware of my skin color, and I frankly, I care so much to the point of then not caring at this point. And so if you don't want to hear me say the N-word, just, like, fast forward, like, a minute or something. I guess, but just deal with it otherwise, because this is real life, and you need to realize that. basically his exact words were, "Niggers are gonna be so angry," and I was like, "You think so?" And my apologies to Shay if you're listening, you know, up in advance, but you know, this is some uncomfortable shit, and if you want to talk to me about it later, we can. Just let me get through this for the sake of the continuity. And he didn't really explain himself, but what I didn't know at the time was, Sean didn't really explain himself at the time, but what I didn't know was, he didn't explain himself to me anyway, that he had children with a woman who also had children with another man who was apparently, I guess, stationed in Florida. I don't know if he was in the armed forces or not. It's relevant, I don't remember right now. And I want to make it clear, I'm not angry at that man. I'm not angry at anyone who's ever killed anyone simply because they've killed someone. That's not how I operate. But I did experience something extremely negative as the result of his actions, which did not start at that moment. His actions were influenced by other people's actions. And I'm being honest when I say I didn't know Sean's life story when I started playing Call of Duty with him and training in the martial arts tricking with him. Because in that community, it's kind of like you just jump in over the sport. And then you talk and you find out more and you see where else you overlap. What I want to point out here is that someone else in this photo also got shot. This guy got shot. Devin got shot. And he got shot in the face, too. And it was either his throat or chest. And he has trouble breathing now. And I would imagine he probably has severe migraines all the time, just like I do. His situation is more visible than mine, but I have severe migraines every single day. And I had to switch from rizatriptan to Ergamar. And that's on top of what's becoming increasingly potentially concerning levels of THC medically. And I might have to bring my ketamine levels back up from 25 to 50 daily. And that's not just for my headaches, but for a lot of them, that's where a lot of the pain's coming from. Other places in my body are also very painful. So I can relate, but it's still not good. I'll tell you that, son. I think Kevin's fine. He's a good person. He's the one who informed me of the issue. And I think Shay's a good person too, and I spoke with him recently and he seems fine. Yeah, it's always possible that I'm wrong about people, but I tend to look at them from a good light until something is proven otherwise. Which is what the court system is supposed to be doing, and it's the opposite of what the court system is doing these days. Typically. Or else I wouldn't have gotten SWAT raided, no matter how much they acted like I'm not in trouble afterwards. You don't just use a SWAT team and then let someone go unless you made a mistake. Not on their own turf. Not on their own hometown. Not where they grew up. Not with their local SWAT team over something that you could have talked to them about. It's just a betrayal. You know that counts as mutiny, right? It actually counts as treason because of my family history. Trace my line back to John Alden. And I can very easily point out how that's treason and mutiny. Yeah, he wasn't the captain. But guess what? The captain asked John Alden to go talk to a woman who he fancied to be the captain's wife. So John Alden went over and asked her, basically it seems like if she would fancy him back, and she told him to speak for himself. Knowing my genetics, he probably got an erection while he was trying to explain this, and she was probably overtaken with emotion at that and resorted to logical feminism. Henceforth, my bloodline prospered greatly, and clearly I outranked the captain at the time. So fuck off if you're a hater. And oh wait, no, I don't know. I'm starting to think that guy was probably gay. He was probably pranking me. He probably knew that I'd pop a boner. He'd probably seen it many a time and knew that I was hiding it successfully on our sardine ship, if hiding it successfully is even possible. He was probably like, "Hey yo, first off, let's not get persecuted. Second of all, whip it out, boy. Oh, look, America." And that's how Crips started. You'll have to talk to the Stewarts about how the Bloods started. Okay, so anyway, so that happened. And, apologies if I offended anyone. I don't mean it as an admission of guilt. I don't feel guilty. I just don't like offending people, and I was trained, and the court system should learn a thing or two from this. I was taught at an early age that whether or not I did anything wrong, if I hurt someone's feelings, or I think I hurt someone's feelings, I should apologize to them. It's not condescending. It's kindness. It's also not weakness. Do you know how difficult that habit is to build and maintain? I gave up so many opportunities as a child just to apologize effectively in the face of people who were not apologizing effectively. And then I got it used against me by the same exact system that taught me how to do it. Just like the tech. Anyway, so, by the way, so it seems like there's obviously a culture, and has been a culture of, like, especially since the Me Too movement, especially, of women deciding to target men who they think that they can take advantage of and then spin the story against with a large support network that they feed one narrative to, and then they feed this particular man, or male, let's just say male. And some people are like, even that's questionable. And it's like, well, just suspend disbelief for a moment, please. I don't think so. Okay, bing. Okay, so, yeah. So targeting males who they think that they can, because her ex, mind you, seems like she was probably still with him. His name is/was Riley, and he seems to be deeply associated with the American Music Awards. Oh, how'd that happen? I'm telling you, it didn't benefit me. Did the opposite for me. I still made a bunch of music, though. Even if people are saying that it's cap that I made any of it, and are like, even people who watched me do it. And frankly, in some cases, I can't necessarily blame them, because first of all, even though I've had issues with my mental health, people who haven't, like, been diagnosed and gone through things sometimes think they don't have problems when they do. They're just not aware of them. So I watch other people, and then I watch their habits and behavior, and it ends up like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not necessarily overall 100% perfect, but, like, that's not either. And so I don't know if you're actually even able to remember that correctly, because I don't even know if you were paying attention in the first place. Mindfulness is where it starts. How are you going to check the facts if you weren't mindful of them? That's DBT skills, and I learned how to explain that, because usually, in my life, I thought the way that you were authentic about this particular issue is to not talk about it at all, unless there's a very specific point that you need to bring up, and then you don't say anything else than that. And yet I got crashed out on for behaving like that by people who behave the opposite way and then crash out on people who do that and claim that they don't behave that way. So now I'm behaving that way as a cooperative effort because I was put under oath under false premises. And it's also in my deal. And if you disagree, then you're nitpicking, in my opinion. And all you have left to do is try to overwhelm me or try to poke arguments in my narrative when that's not the point of this. I'm not arguing with you. I'm informing you. And so if you're going to try to tell me I'm wrong, save it. You don't need to do that because if you claim to be who you are, then you don't need to feedback at all because you've already proven that all you're doing is cheesing me at this point and digging down on the glory. And then you'd say you weren't, but you were. So let's move on. So, okay, watch analyst. I didn't really look too deeply into that. Let's look at that. What does that mean? Monitor domestic events, base operations, military installation areas. So, stalker. With military hardware. Counterterrorism. So, a terrorist who targets people who are labeled as terrorists. Now, I have some very interesting information for you. I used to travel with the State Department with a band known as the Annandale Jazz Ambassadors. And when we were in South Africa, I got my hands on some cannabis, some like bush cannabis. It was actually really wholesome. And, you know, with a few of the other bandmates, but we weren't really supposed to do that. I mean, we were. It's a jazz band, for Christ's sake. It's a big band jazz band. But, I mean, I guess it was... Is it just a trap, I guess? I don't know. Is the whole thing a trap? Anyway, so we finished our last show that we could, and then we flew home. We did most of our tour. That was my 4th tour overseas, so it was like, okay. But we just flew home a couple days early, I think. We had to pay like $400 each for everyone who's involved. But then I guess they went to Mexico next, but I wasn't with the band anymore. And also, it was going to be the last year I could be in the band anyway. And then the band leader was accused of pedophilia and killed himself. And if, you know, that's not bad enough, I also, you know, like I said, ever since I acquired my head injuries, for some reason I've been getting punishment instead of praise by the system. So, and it's been very difficult to get any assistance that isn't just pushing me further into my deficit. So, I mean, there are a lot of reasons why I could see, especially with the way that people have tried to treat me and not been successful because they've been vindictive and I've just been steadfast, how they would try to up the ante until they finally got me a classification of terrorism that I either can't address through the system or just they don't even care because they're just going to use it to get a temporary clearance to bring a SWAT team to my house or whatever. And then they'll cover it up and see if they can get me to die. And then they'll just keep it pushing, partner, except I'm still here. So we'll see how far this goes, because all I'm doing is what I'm supposed to do in this case. Arguably, I'm not doing enough, and I do regret that. But that's for myself. I actually have to stop being so hard on myself because none of you motherfuckers are as hard on yourselves as I am, and I'm just blowing you out of the water. So yeah, open source intelligence research. So let's talk about what signal intelligence is. And then let's talk about my family history again. I don't know where the picture is. It's somewhere around here. Hold on. I might have to go to... There it is. So this is where it starts. This is in Arlington Cemetery. The unknown soldier, if you go up the road this way, is up there. And this is my great-grandfather's grave. And on the other side, you'll see he was in the Signal Corps. And his wife is buried with him. And then if you go down this way and over to Court 5, you'll find my grandfather listed under NN, as in NN, doing my thing, dead man tripping. So, excuse me if I'm a little bit rubbed the wrong way by having a SWAT team invade my space over something that has an initiative active for it, in which I was served as a final product in the District of Columbia, where I was born and circumcised on day one. Just for trying to stay safe. Basically, stay safe, frugal, and also do my part in participating in the process. Now, I want you to understand something. Clark was a pilot, and there was a plane in a hangar available to be passed down to me, except I didn't get to go that path because of my fucking deficits and disabilities and the fact that I wasn't supported to go in that direction. And so I, myself, could have been flying to wherever this plant grows, or even, if I had had more freedom, finding it more in my local environment. Because serotonin, when it's really, really, really low, or when there's complicated decreased levels of serotonin, can cause treatment-resistant depression. And it turns out that dimethyltryptamine, especially when extracted with an acid-based salt tech, is very efficient and effective when paired with a spiritual ritual, often known as fumigation. It can take other forms. And meditation. And there's also other activities that can be performed in such a shamanic manner. This, I found, is the most important way. Since that was taken away from me, it's been a while, but I'm getting back to normal a little bit. I'm now, like I said, I'm on ketamine. I went up to 75 milligrams of ketamine daily before we added the medical marijuana. Now I'm on 25 milligrams of ketamine a day, and my marijuana intake is increasing steadily to the point where I'm eating entire bags of edibles in one day while smoking as much as I can and doing other things, obviously, but at the same doing probably to you a surprising amount of other things considering where I'm at in my tolerance building. And now I'm on Ergomar and Sunosi. And I was treating all of my symptoms with just my DMT extraction, and I didn't even have to use very much at the time. I could microdose it. And I was making my own relatively kosher vape juices. I guess the vape juice was kosher, the flavoring might not have been. So I stopped using the flavoring at some point. I'm telling you, my extraction was usually crystal clear, or it only had a slight yellow tinge. I know a lot of people like the heavy oxidation, but that's not what I was doing. I was creating a very, very, very pure product. And it was very, 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 very effective. And I'm very, 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 very traumatized. And so when I use the product, my trauma becomes apparent to me and I need support. But it also makes me realize how important life is, which I don't entirely feel right now. Although I am moving forward because I don't have any way out other than forward. So, we're working on it. But when we talk about, like, signals and stuff, I feel like it's important that I explain that, like, I understand the concept of a signal. I'm just not sure if other people do. I know that doesn't say signals. It says it says intelligence, but intelligence is based on signals. Your brain waves are signal patterns. And then more time as a watch officer. But before that, she was a sales associate at Sheetz, so we're bringing it back down to earth. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm just saying, we were up here, now let's bring it back down here. I used to love tropical smoothies, so you can see why I had sex with this person. But you can also see from some of this other stuff why I feel very, very suspicious about the nature under which we were introduced. With an active DoD secret clearance, while I'm actively engaged in projects such as this. I mean, there's more in here. But I had to get rid of a lot of stuff because I had too much of it and it was cluttering. And I'm trying to go back through it all and try to make sense of it after getting beaten and battered through everything that I've been through again. But you have to understand that, like, I'm in this really weird fringe area of I realize more and more every day But I just like to point out, I was still in the custody, no matter how they're trying to spin it, I was still in the custody of the state of Maryland, even though I'm being supervised in Virginia. Virginia is supposed to report to Maryland, so I'm still in the custody of Maryland. I was in the custody of Maryland, and this expired in August 2022, and she went to Korea after we had sex, which was, I think, in July of 2022, and I was still on probation or pretrial or what. It was probation, right? At that point, was it? Well, anyway, regardless, it was, either way, is still custody of the state of Maryland. So that counts as rape. Especially because she did not inform me of that. Because I was arrested by the state of Maryland and incarcerated by the state of Maryland. Once again, under false premises, not false pretenses, because I definitely did some of the things which have been discussed. But the issue is that I should not have been treated as a criminal as a result of it. At all. You should never do that. If you're going to take that path, I should have been treated more so as, you know, someone who's psychiatrically vulnerable. Especially considering that she got me addicted to cocaine against my will. I mean, that's a big red flag right there, but I understand that the whole system was kind of changing during COVID. Anyway. But it's still, I'm sorry, but it's rape. If you're going to play this legal game, that's rape. And it also nullifies Maryland's case against me, which then nullifies Virginia's case against me. And if that, by the way, there's like a million other reasons that Virginia's current case against me should be nullified. Not even just nullified, but like actively reversed, and then have the book thrown at these people. But not the book thrown at them as in punish them and only punish them. The book thrown at them is, what the fuck have you people done? Stop it. Go back to doing something productive. And if you can't do that, then don't do anything at all. Ever. Again. Anyway, so this is where it gets difficult, though, because I want you to understand that Gabrielle Vinette basically made me out to be a rapist. Like, she pressed charges on an assault charge after having an extremely prolific sexual relationship with me, while apparently having zero romantic relationship with me. Because she gave me an STD and she cheated on me a million times, I guess. I don't know how else this could have fucking happened other than that. It seems like she made a game out of cheating on me and getting away with it. Like, towing that line. What, just because I'm not going to beat the fuck out of you? And then you hit your head on a chair. dancing because you drank alcohol and you said you weren't going to do that anymore. And I took you to the hospital and I held your leg because you kept moving so that Dr. Banizak could stitch you up. That was speaking to Gabby. Anyway, so that's how that might not be the first place it started. But, you know, considering how kind I've been to all of my sexual partners and how, like, raw it rubs me when people take advantage of that and try to make me snap, considering how upset I've been and what I'm capable of, I've been very, very, very forgiving with my reactions. Have you guys ever seen the videos of people like taunting the wild animals and then the wild animals attack them and it's like, what did you expect? Like, you're keeping and sometimes they keep them as pets and stuff and they like torture them and then finally the pet reacts. It's like, what? You're treating me like an animal and then you're holding me accountable as though I'm a human. You kind of have to pick one for that to be continuous. And then the whole thing with Sonia was very similar, where she in a discovery clearly stated that she had multiple partners, which is not what she told me. It's not what I consented to, and it put my life at risk. Where is it? I don't know if I included it in this one. In these pictures. But she also clearly stated she still wanted to see me. I explained some of this in another video. Also. First of all, let's start there. She said she likes it when I hit her. Well, she didn't tell me that, and also, I was only hitting her because she was, first of all, hitting me, and second of all, being extremely verbally abusive, and third of all, well, actually, let me think. First of all, she was, putting my life at risk by exposing me to, like, situations that included things of the nature and up to the severity of weaponized uranium, apparently. Yeah, it was normal for us to have sex, but it wasn't normal when she would get abusive. Or when she would hurt herself, and then apparently not explain it to people that she had hurt herself. The only reason she wanted the charges against me dropped is because she promised she wouldn't behave like that, and then she did it anyway. I don't think she actually wanted the charges against me dropped. I think she just wanted it written in there so that she didn't get found, like, so that I wouldn't be able to go, see, I told you so, but I can do it anyway because it's bullshit. And I just did. Look at this. She still has a protective order against Stewart, but doesn't want to follow through. Yeah, no shit. So she explicitly told the cops that she wasn't going to follow through with the protective order. And then when I feed them information about it, they ignore me. They just tell me, oh, well, don't respond. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it?
You fucked my life up.
Okay, yeah, well, every time you contact... I fucked your life up? No, you fucked your life up. And you used me to fuck your life up. Anyway, so that's bullshit. And then look at this shit. After Sean died and I ordered another bag of DMT, or not a bag of DMT, see, I almost did the same thing just there. Another bag of MHRB, which contains trace amounts of DMT, as does lots of other shit that lives at all. But 420 grams of MHRB is 4.2 grams of DMT, approximately. Not 420 grams of DMT. Shouts out to Jay Short if you're out there watching this video. I kind of just gave you the answer, which is par for the course given the kind of environment that Nova upholds. Does Albright College have anything to do with, like, the Albright that lives down the street over there? Like the one who adopted Eddie Albright? I wonder. Anyway, so they kind of made it out to be like a sexual assault with me and Sonia, but what was happening is that she was just trying to kill me or something, or trying to get someone else to kill me, and then trying to cover it up. And you know how, I don't know if you've seen people do this before, where they think that they've covered their tracks sufficiently that at the same time as they're doing the covering their tracks behavior, they're also doing the taunting behavior and like taking it too far while also thinking that they're covering their tracks. Does that make sense? Like they're doing it in a way that's like slightly vague enough that they think that if they take it to court, which I saw with Swanet's, he didn't even present that she was threatening to kill me directly right before I walked into the building. I guess because he thought it would be either he thought it'd be too much work, or they already all knew that because they were the ones who were causing this situation to occur. That's probably more likely given the responses I got after that. That cut is from the bone graft surgery that I had to have after being assaulted in jail, by the way.
I will kill you if you're fucking rebound. I will kill you. I'll be first person to kill you if you're ever rebound, dumbass.
So yeah. So she claims to have been from Russia, like Siberia, like having genetics from the Middle East and also from Russia, but living in Siberia for a while, and apparently, and then she told me she came over here with her boyfriend from Russia, and then at some point, I guess, sure, like, what was it? Her job was like, you know, tattoo artist and then like bartender, but also at like strip joints and stuff. So it's probably hard to keep a stable relationship. And then apparently, then later she found her husband, who then they were getting a divorce from because she apparently is a psychopath. A complete and total psychopath. An extremely dangerous psychopath. Which I found out the hard way. And if you think that I'm lying because I'm not, like, dismembered or whatever, check the facts on both sides of this situation.
Your call has been...
You don't have to like me to understand what I'm saying. I'm not even asking you to like me. I'm asking you to understand what I'm saying. Does that clarify these things? I'm asking you to understand that what I'm saying is affecting me from a perspective of not just myself. Okay, so there's that. Now back to this. So, yeah, basically Sonia was just using me as a sex slave, and she enlisted her, I don't know if you call them friends, but her cohorts in generating a narrative against me, it seems like. And it may have even been part of a much deeper conspiracy tied to the KGB and the Trumps, because the only reason that I even, by the way, no hate to Russians, shouts out the KGB, I guess, but can you, like, rein it in a minute? Because, like, just stop with the religious persecution, because, like, what? You want to summon the devil within me so that I'll end your regime because you're suicidal because you partied too much and you made fools of yourselves without proper discipline from us over here. Sorry, but that's your fault, not mine. Yeah, I was previously being like, oh, you're right, I should have tried harder. I should have been more mature at an earlier age and known more at an earlier age. I should have had better self-discipline. But you know what I realized is that would have been, that's basically saying that you people aren't actually, like, even capable of being responsible for your own actions. And since you seem to think that I'm so lowly that you can just claim that I'm a criminal and that you're better than me, I would assume you want to claim that you have some responsibility for your actions. So I'm going to ask you to take responsibility for your actions. That's all. So yeah, and then after that comes Emma Samuels, who did humiliate me, yes, but I did not respond with violence because I wanted to show that I know the difference between being humiliated and being threatened. And also, it does seem like people have been treating me like I'm a serial killer, which actually, I guess, on some level is true. But I don't think you should be trying to punish me for that, because if it is true, the way that I'm doing it is, how do I explain it? Righteous. It's like I just try to do what I know is right, even in the face of being, even when I'm forced into situations that I can't really do what I know is right in, I still try to do the most right thing. And I'm on a base reality exploration mission, apparently, but I'm actually up to more than that. No matter what you think, it's 420. And I'm not one of your little experiments. You're one of mine. All of you are my experiment. Unfortunately, it's not a delusion of grandeur. It's the opposite. It's me coming down from a delusion of grandeur and realizing that I have a responsibility to people to get my shit together and admit that I'm better than them. As a whole. As a whole. I don't mean like to hurt your feelings or anything, but I'm assuming your feelings are already hurt and that we are already asses. And so I'm just trying to get my shit together and be a good leader again, without interfering in people's personal autonomy. That's the thing, and it's not a challenge. You know what not interfering with people's personal autonomy looks like? Better farmlands. Whole Foods everywhere at a reasonable price. Being a sous chef can now be a part-time job. You can be a master chef 2 times a week for a couple hours. Come on, just hop on over to the community restaurant. Anyway, so yeah, so the serial killer thing, it starts looking a lot more interesting when you start looking at like cyber threat intelligence. So let's talk about that. Emergency preparedness. So let's go back to, first of all, that's what I was doing with the dimethyltryptamine, and that's why I've been training. But what I continuously have been encountering is that the people that I'm supposed to be working with on these emergencies continuously end up causing an emergency against me on purpose just to work against me. Multitasker, otherwise apparently known as a cheater. Operational planning, otherwise known as a spiteful bitch. Sorry if I'm taking it too far, but you're the one who decided not to be in a relationship with me. Operational planning, training, Microsoft Office. Great. I happen to know Microsoft ran some COVID simulations before COVID happened in New York. Which apparently some people think I'm from. Apparently some people think I'm from New York. I don't know why. Written communication. Okay, well, you had me fooled. Oh yeah, also, my grandfather was a comms officer. I mean, this all looks very impressive, doesn't it? Except, guess what? When you compare it, if I were to write everything out the way that like, because if you think about what these actually mean, these are all things that represent something. And when people, how do I put it? When people engage with these systems, the way they engage with the systems is what determines whether or not it's impressive or not. Because I could list a lot of things for myself in a manner in which would be true and they would come off in a certain way, but they wouldn't mean exactly necessarily what it seems. Although it might to some degree, if you then try to juxtapose it against something which does not fit the mold you were expecting, perhaps it is not exactly as it stacks up in your mind. And it's not a diss, it's just dissuading people from becoming overly enamored with the concept that I'm an inferior person. Here's a great example of that. I have a lanyard that is a DARPA lanyard that has an ID thing from the DARPA 2019 AI Colloquium. Now, I could blow that out of proportion and try to make it seem like that has more bearing on my outcome than it actually does, when in reality, it's literally just a conference that I visited for a couple days. My dad's job was to run conferences that people like the Surgeon General would frequent. So, it wasn't all that crazy to me, but it was pretty interesting. So the actual name itself, the DARPA thing on it, it's like, yeah, that means something to me. I only went because I thought it was pretty much the most fascinating thing that I could focus on, other than, and this is what you people forget, other than my own life and the things that I love doing, such as music. AI is a lot like music. Like the way that musicians write songs is a lot like how AI generates content in some ways. It's just that when you try to replicate the process, it's obviously never the same as the original until you create an original process within that replication that matches the intensity and, what I mean, vibration, whatnot. Shut up. Okay, advanced criminal investigations. Do you see where I'm coming from here, people? Do I need to... I think I'm going to stop spelling it out quite as much just so that in the afterlife we don't have to have that conversation. Because once again, I'm not trying to flex on you. I'm just... You remember the book Fire Us? Go read Fire Us. Go read the first novel of Fire Us and then come back to me with a new perspective. If you haven't read Harry Potter, go ahead and read that too. Haha. FEMA! Active shooter. What can you do? So this is where it starts becoming an issue. Some of you may have thought it was an issue already. But, now it's an issue. Okay? Right there, that's the point. That's like the point at which now we can confirm that it is an actual issue objectively. For someone who's listed with a credential in decision-making and problem-solving, maybe having sex with me, given all these other situations you were in, was not exactly in line with this claim. Considering what situation I was in, it's potentially possible that this might need a review. Social media in emergency management, which could be called propaganda, especially if you're trying to stop someone who knows how important dimethyltryptamine is and how it shouldn't be ever illegal in America, and frankly, someone who knows how important it is that we get our farms back the way they're supposed to be, and et cetera, FDA, FEMA, Customs, FEMA. International economics and finance, Trump. Anyway, once again, I'm actually, if my tone comes off as like, bitter or pained, first of all, remember that I'm in a body with a ton of injuries. And second of all, I was circumcised, and it fucking hurts all the time. And I've just been disrespected over and over and over again by these bitches that I dick down at their own behest. And then they sacrifice me to whatever the fuck is trying to consume my soul. And I'm quite honestly tired of it because you haven't killed me. I'm benevolent as fuck. You keep torturing me. And you haven't killed me. And you haven't completely disabled me. So here we are. Anyway, I don't think that I should take this too far. I think I should probably just let you people do your own research as I continue to try to expand the narrative. I realize this is just going to have to probably go up as a YouTube video. And then I'll probably just link it in my case files or whatever. So, I don't know if you people want to do some cross-checks on, the people over here in my area. But I gotta tell you, I mean, I did not expect all of this to be what my life was like. As a young person, I thought I was going to be a neuroscientist because, well, I guess I am, but I thought I was going to actually be like, like a neurosurgeon, frankly. I thought I was going to be able to do that because although I was quirky, I was very competent classically at piano, or at least for how much I practiced at the time. It's a matter of maturity and being able to to really sit down and focus when you need to, right? But you don't always have to overpressure yourself. But and then being pretty well acquainted with the medical concepts early on, thanks to my dad. But unfortunately, my head injury really dissuaded me from that path. And then when I still tried to follow it anyway, the first neuroscience class I had, the guy was an ADHD specialist and was probably just mostly interested in selling methamphetamines. And his perspective was that if you didn't believe the materialism view where there's no soul, then essentially you're wrong and there's no point in continuing the discussion. And then he refused. I asked him to go over some of the coursework with me during his office hours, and he absolutely straight up refused and acted extremely disdainful. And that kind of dissuaded me from continuing down the neuroscience path at the time, so I switched to audio engineering, which I was already doing on my own. And then I encountered, through my whole educational journey, I feel like I've just been getting raped and pillaged by people who are supposed to be helping me and protecting me. I went back to audit neuroscience, and COVID happened. And I was being informed of something like that happening prior to it occurring through the Virus 23 stuff. Like that. Alright, well, I think for what I was trying to accomplish right now, I think I've explained some of where I'm coming from and how, although I don't inherently hate this woman, you have to understand, I am aware, also if you'll take a quick look at, metaphorically, Samin Youssef, Elizabeth Wall, Kaylee Rosati, people of this nature, just examine their perspective and opinions on certain things, especially when it comes to traits that I have. Oh, Sarah Kenlin, include her in the conversation. People who think that other people should die in holes filled with period blood. stuff like that. I'm sorry if I haven't always been the most honest during my life, but you have to understand that I was very, very deeply lied to about the actual nature of my circumcision. You have to understand that if you actually want things to be fair, that you have to go back and seriously consider how that impacts my mental health and how that impacts my worldview up until the point where it destroys me to find out that things are not what I thought they were, and I have to completely rebuild my entire personality while it's being destroyed. So, I've made a lot of rapid improvements over the years, but unfortunately, other people failed to improve with me, and that's a shame. Fortunately, I have found some people who are in the upper echelon of what I consider to be competency, but often they don't seem to understand where I'm coming from, even when we do get a good rapport going. So I am doing my best, and I'm not blaming anyone, but situations like this, I don't know if people think that I don't know if you think it's like a kink of mine to be abused, but if you look at how the system is set up, you're not supposed to do this to me if you're claiming that if you're claiming that I'm a felon in your district. You are not supposed to have officers engaging in sexual intercourse while I'm supposed to be in your care. Especially ones who live with another male and refuse to engage in a full relationship. So knowingly engaging in coitus whilst not allowing for informed consent. Whereas I said everything I could say. Isn't the whole thing is that I've been informing everyone of everything. It's not something new to me. I do know how to keep my mouth closed, but I know how important it is to be able to communicate. And I guess some people have the wrong idea of what communication is. I don't think communication is tricking someone else and then snitching on them. I think it's directly talking, well, as directly as possible, discussing the issue with the people involved, while doing your best to maintain a calm demeanor so that you can actually express yourself properly, if possible. I know how distracting emotional elevation can be. So anyway, I don't think I can ever be in a healthy relationship with this person, so that ship sailed when all of this kind of became what it was. And this is the last person who I had sexual intercourse with in a string of women where I definitely was putting more into the relationship than they were, and it seemed like they were just trying to defend themselves from their own bad decisions, which harmed me. And then they became hostile towards me and tried to get away from me because they figured when I found out that I would hurt them. Or that I would just get them in trouble. Who knows? So, I'm a little tired of it. I'm tired of being lied about and painted as this horrible person, because then I tell myself that I'm a horrible person. And if that were going to be effective, I wouldn't be here right now. So anyway, if you look at all that in juxtaposition with how much music I've created and the quality and caliber of it and the surrounding circumstances, if you're being honest with yourself and if you actually suspend your disbelief to incorporate that I could actually be talented enough to do this, especially with my ability to have a conversation about certain details about the processes, and also recreate or show capability the best I can. It's just like with the extractions. You could have just asked if you could film me and try some, and then we could have scheduled, or you could have asked me to come into your lab at some point. You really could have been cooperative when you were hostile towards me, and then you claimed that was cooperation, but then you just denied everything that happened, basically, unless it fit in the confines of a way that you could explain it without getting in trouble. I'm not doing that, if you notice that. I'm getting in trouble, but I'm being honest. To the best of my abilities. And I'll tell you what, the whole truth is quite large, so just, it's taking a while. But you, as a viewer, already know your part of the whole truth as well. So you should be able to pick up some of the slack and figure out what the fuck I'm saying.
To the chief, we bout to smoke more reefer and blow leaf up. Record another gold feature, some dope sneakers. How about another rhyme too? I'm living me and I wanna see you do you. Hail to the chief, we bout to smoke more reefer and blow leaf up. Record another gold feature, some dope sneakers. How about another rhyme too? I'm living me and I wanna see you do you. So stiller, cold filler, motiller. Analogically I hit the chronic and I'm off the T. Crippin' out the scissor and I'm dripping out the C. Check the diabolicals, they coming out the TV. Waves, I'm more than just a brave man. I could write a limerick underwater with the same hand. I clap once and then I'll go. I'll give you dap, son. Living in the brotherhood of man. I'm out the trap gun. Hail to the chief. We bout to smoke more reefer and blow leaf up. Record another gold feature. Some dope sneakers. How about another rhyme too? I'm living me and I wanna see you do you. Hail to the chief. We bout to smoke more reefer and blow leaf up. Record another gold feature. Some dope sneakers. How about another rhyme too? I'm living me and I wanna see you do you. The trap stallion. I'm hanging like medallion. Flow is like Medici cause the style is all Italian. My code Da Vinci, G shit, I know you feel me. Shout out to the Pope, I'm giving hope because I'm over trill beats. I'm holding steel, but you know what keeps it real. Power to the people like the powder in the pill. I'm trying to chill on the block cause that shit is hot. I'm trying to chill on the block cause that shit is hot. I'm back at it, I'm acting like a crack addict with bad habits. I'm fucking like a mad rabbit. I stay savage, I got so many ways to ravage. The lad's tatted, he likes to shoot at people. He's a rabbit from my Mazda, empty clips and speeding Hondas. I'm in the Zonda, I press F, I pray to Allah bro. I pray to Yahweh and God we trust. Pluribus unum, never ever did I never wanna shoot him. Hail to the chief, we bout to smoke more reefer and blow leaf up. Record another gold feature, some dope sneakers. How about another rhyme too? I'm living me and I wanna see you do you. Hail to the chief, we bout to smoke more reefer and blow leaf up. Record another gold feature, some dope sneakers. How about another rhyme too? I'm living me and I wanna see you do you.
Oh, shit. I just realized that ever since the Sosa song, you couldn't hear me. It's okay. So back on track. I've been using NSI 189. Don't worry about whatever I just said. It's not important to you right now because the mic was muted. I also have to pee a little bit. But NSI 189. I've been using this product since before COVID. I used to source it through Alibaba from Wuhan. And I've been taking it, other than times when I haven't been able to get it, which is basically just while I was either in inpatient treatment or incarcerated. Or sometimes I just didn't have it because life was tough and I was going through stuff. But recently, for a while now, I take it almost every day at a fairly low level. And the reason why this is important to note is because this medicine was developed by Neuralstem, but it was at the behest of, or I guess under supervision of, with backing by NIH and DARPA. Okay? Mind you, I was born in DC and I live right outside of DC, okay? Like, not like over in Arlington right across from DC, but or like Old Town Alexandria right across from DC, but close enough. And then there's a piece of information I'm looking for, but my circumcision pain is distracting me. So I forgot what I was looking for. Sorry about that. NSI document. I'm looking for... Okay, not the unassociated document, but... What was that? This one. This is what I was looking for. I was told it was developed in conjunction with this program. And by the way, speaking of TEDx conference in 2012, that's around the time that I got my spinal tap, isn't it? In Florida. I do believe around that time I ran out of AKB-48, which, if I'm not mistaken, was almost certainly a federally controlled substance, even if it wasn't scheduled. It was still likely all of these major labs which produced these complicated chemicals, especially the high-quality ones, were likely government labs. Just due to the nature of how lethal the government can be when people don't register as a government entity. I'm in a weird situation where I was supposed to be a government entity from the start, and people have been just right off the bat trying to take all my rights away from me, basically just assailing all of my generational wealth. And I can't even complain because we still haven't gotten to... I don't feel like I'm complicit to racism, but I do feel like I'm responsible for my fellow human beings' equality. Everyone is responsible for everyone being treated fairly. Equality has different levels. Just because what I'm saying is you shouldn't just make assumptions about groups of people and then apply them to a specific person when it might not be the case. Just don't... That's what I'm saying. Anyway. And don't restrict certain people based on factors that realistically, if you're not just trying to push one specific agenda that only benefits this group of people, regardless of whether it's true or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Sorry, my brain still has to heal more before I can have more. That's why I need to take this. Because I'm telling you, the last time I had my shit together enough to speak radically about this and logically and clearly was when I got caught smoking cannabis, which getting caught, it's like getting caught. Did we get caught or did we get supplied it and then did they act like we got caught? But ever since South Africa, because that's when I was getting asked a bunch of questions, and I was trying not. That's when I started lying. Right then, because I was trying to. Wait, did I actually lie? I think I tried. No, I think what happened was I tried to stay silent. I tried to. Okay, so maybe not. Maybe lying isn't the right word. I was trying to navigate the conversation in a way where I didn't have to tell him details which would clearly be undesirable to be said during this sort of questioning. And we were separated. All the people involved were separated and questioned separately. So eventually, I think maybe I might have tried with a little bit of misdirection until they were like, well, that's not what. And I was like, okay, and then I told the truth, right? By the way, if you ever get access, my FOIA was denied, but if you ever get access to the real footage, if there is any real footage, and if it's the actual footage of when I was SWAT raided, you'll see that while I used some swim language, some airwid language, I was very informative and honest and forthcoming. And in this case, it's not completely dissimilar. And also, I'd like to point out how heinous apartheid is and how it needs to be completely. There needs to be a complete, like, we talk about racism in America, but how are you supposed to solve racism in America if you don't solve racism in Africa and England? And you have to do it everywhere, Because if we get our shit together but other people don't, then who the fuck is going to care? It's just going to go back. We have to do it all together in a way. And this is why we need a new government, but I don't know if I agree with depopulating. I think people should maintain their own reproductive rights and should have autonomy over their life unless it's being directly harmed by another person in a way where not only is it unnecessary, but it's just selfish and greedy. Like if someone just started trying to take my life against all like logic and moral and ethics just because they felt like it, then I might be able to do something about it if I can, reasonably. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But anyway, I don't know how weird this got for you people on your end, if this is even weird for you at all, because it feels like, how could all this either it's a systemic thing where this pattern's operating without people being aware of things, or people are actively conspiring against me on a grand scale. Or some combination. There could be some combination of that and then a decentralized sleeper cell thing, but my whole point here is that it's just like the system has AIDS. It's like, and it's like, I wonder sometimes if my circumcision gave me infantile AIDS. What if that's why this is happening? Because the reality is that circumcisions gives babies AIDS, and that they're trying to hide that. I'm not saying that's a fact, but it might be worth looking into without America trying to circumcise you for looking into it. Or whichever subsect of whichever religion claims to be doing it to other people for self-defense because it's one of their traditions, or killing people because they're trying to... Look, if you're doing it for an actual religious purpose and you have like a legitimate... And this isn't up for me to decide. This is up for you and God to decide. But if you have a legitimate system worked out and you're not imposing circumcisions on other people, like, I don't mean, oh, you can't show your penis to anybody. I mean, don't encourage people to get them outside of an emergency medical context. And I don't mean birth. Oh yeah, the baby emerged. It was an emergence, and it was in a medical context because it was in the hospital. And it looks good to me because I just made $2,000. Stop it. So you can classify what I just went through right there as a schizophrenic episode, because what circumcision does is it splits the frenulum, which causes neurosis. Thank you. I may or may not be here all week, depending on who sees this and how they react. I would like to go do like a fast food review or something. I would like to at least go get food. I have some food next door, but that I made. But ultimately, I'd like to end this video and go do something else because this has been extremely traumatic for me. But I also feel like it was also therapeutic because I got to explain some of what I'm going through and show you some of my symptoms also of what happens when I approach these topics and how I start behaving. I know that some of what I'm doing is like not normal or whatever. Well, potentially even a lot of it. But behind that is a very normal person who is trying to figure out how to communicate with the everyday world from a body that does not feel even remotely up to what its genetics are telling it should be possible. And also all the mRNA. Who knows what all the mRNA has done to me as well. I'm not against safety from disease, but does that have to be at the cost of my actual, like, existence? Like, it feels like you took a very well-defined, very creative masterpiece and then, like, stripped all the details away from it and all the power away from it and turned it into something like transient. That's it. And when you do that to something that represents what gave you life in the first place, I find it hard to believe that your life will be sustained by those powers. So this is why I'm not retaliating directly. I'm just speaking on it. And I'm trying to maintain my flow, and I'm trying to get myself to make up for what I perceive to be lost time. But I also learned a lot during that process. I learned how wrong I was about the world. But the thing is that the world was also wrong. Very. And that I have to cut myself a break because I was like, what's a saint in hell? What's a saint going to behave like in hell? If the Pope went to hell today just to visit, how would the Pope behave in hell? I'm not saying going to hell, I'm not saying the Pope would go to hell because they deserve to go to hell forever. I'm just saying, if the Pope were to, because God asked him to for one day or something, to go to hell, how would that person behave? And that's how I feel going through my situations. And so, I don't blame you if you see me as some sort of demon or some sort of evil, because, well, that's the prevailing narrative of, like, Christianity, at least, and I know that, stories often present themselves in other ways, like, Lucifer or whatever is, like, ruling over once again, okay, it'd be nice if we had better translations available or the original text and people were better educated. But if I'm just going to use the weird programming that I have, Lucifer is basically just the best at everything other than God. But God said go to hell and run that while I run everything. So you're within the framework of what I'm doing. You're like an employee, subsidiary. And from what it seems like, hell is like, I believe in a spiritual hell beyond Earth, but like it does seem like metaphorically, especially because this could be like the Revelations time or whatever, that this does seem to be some sort of hell. Like Earth does seem to be some sort of hell, even if it's like it's not even purgatory. Purgatory was 2012, It's transitioned, which in some way, with 2020 was like COVID was now we're all in hell. And it's ironic because Gabby was trying to get me locked up and violate my probation, and everyone got locked up. Literally, everyone on the planet got locked up. So when I say that, like, if I say something like COVID happened because I got abused by one of my sexual partners, it's not entirely wrong. You have to understand, I'm not saying it from an egotistical perspective. I'm saying, like, I watched this pattern, and then to me, it seems like that was the sequence. That was the crux of the narrative point for me, being currently at that time trained to focus on the narrative engine. I do feel like I'm in jail, or like either out of jail or in jail, like speaking to someone on the other side. But I realize we all, like, COVID confirmed, we all feel like that to some degree, so. Hi, Hutsana! Anyway, wrapping it up, I'd like to point out that I think that these things associated with dimethyltryptamine called the machine elves should be researched more thoroughly. And I don't think you should be necessarily hiding your work or stylizing it unless you're openly being artistic. Because I think that has a lot to do with, I think people on Earth need to be better informed about that, or at least more open about the information with regards to that, because I think we are dealing with an intelligence issue as a species because of the technology that we've been using. We rely on it, and it makes us more intelligent in some ways, but it also causes us to be reliant on it for things that we normally could do ourselves. And that is a huge fucking issue, because it means that if we're not doing the things that we need to do on our own, that we're designed to do in order to stay healthy, because it's part of the mechanism of figuring out whether we should survive or not, because that's how evolution works. You know what I mean? Like, sorry I keep trailing off like that, but my my TVIs act up, and like if I keep doubling down on that, I'll probably have like an aneurysm or something. So I'll just let you finish the thought on your own. It's probably more productive that way at this point anyway. And now I'm gonna stop, and I'm probably gonna go get some food, because that sounds wonderful right now. And I encourage you that if you're going through a hard time and you're feeling like crashing out, I encourage you to just do some self-care. That's what I'm trying to do. I know it's easier said than done, but I encourage you to just try to calm down, because if you think about it, like, for example, angry skin is like skin that is irritated, right? And it's reacting angrily. And if you have a disease, like a wasting disease or something, where you have like, but everyone has some sort of wasting disease right now because of brain rot and stuff. So if you're angry, I encourage you to try to heal instead of hurting someone else, is what I'm saying. Instead of hurting yourself or hurting someone else, I encourage you to either heal yourself or someone else. That's right, I said it. You can even just put, you know what, I think codependency is a thing, but I think that you should probably let yourself take care of someone else if it makes you feel better, okay? And you can take care of yourself, like, oh, I did that for someone else, and now I can treat myself like I'm someone else, and then I don't have to feel selfish. How about that? How about we leave it there, and we talk about all this later, and then maybe someday I'll be able to talk to you people in person about this stuff, and we can all stay calm, and it can be productive. That'd be great. I'll talk to you later.